What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to the channel. We have had a substantial amount of people actually join this channel the past 30 days. And I wanted to give you guys some updates along with telling you guys exactly what the title of this stream is I have cured about 100 POTS cases. And I want to talk to you guys about how exactly I do that. I see that there's a growing, consistent need for POTS content, and this is the best way that I can actually get this stuff out to you guys is by doing live streams. So I'd committed to doing 2 to 3 videos per week plus live streaming whenever I can. That immediately was not sustainable for me. It just immediately was not sustainable. But here's why I want to actually go live again. I'm going to be super transparent with you guys. I have opened up my coaching slots yet again. We have a clinic. If you guys don't know that, if you guys haven't followed the updates, we have a functional medicine clinic. We have a functional medicine and aesthetics clinic. So we do mostly BHRT, hormone replacement therapy, and beauty aesthetics. So stuff like Botox, skin pen, things of that nature. And I have a team of people that are ready and willing to help. And I think that this is the best way that I can help and serve when it comes to the POTS community. I do feel as though I owe this to the POTS community because I have been blessed and I have figured it out. At least for me and my clients, we have figured it out. I have, since being diagnosed with POTS, let me just go over what exactly I have been able to accomplish. I have had a successful training business. I got my life back. If you don't know anything about my story, I literally thought that I was dying. I had been in 1 year to about 14 hospital visits. I had seen about 3 or 4 specialists, something like that. Eventually, I saw an electrocardiologist that said, hey, you have POTS. Just live like you have POTS. There's nothing really else that you can do. And I was like, okay, awesome. I figured out a method to cure myself from POTS. And I've been helping people ever since. So I feel like this is the best way that I can actually give back to the community is by live streaming and opening up coaching slots yet again. But as far as this goes, I want to actually give you guys the formula to how I get this done. All right. So I hope that all those updates were good. I hope that everything is fine and dandy. So I'm going to give you guys today the thing that I actually have come to realize recently is the most important piece of the puzzle. And what I want to offer you guys is this. I want to offer you guys a new way of thinking about POTS. I know that everybody knows that it's an autonomic dysfunction. Okay. I know that everybody knows that it's a nervous system disorder. And I think that a lot of times when people think about it being a nervous system disorder, they try to find root cause. Okay. Every single case of my POTS clients that has come to me says that they believe that there was a virus, or maybe it was a jab, or maybe it was some sort of event that happened that triggered the POTS. And so they try to fix the root cause. For example, I've had a lot of people come to me and say mold or Lyme disease or fibromyalgia, all these different things that they have come to because they have visited different functional medicine doctors and different specialists. My offering to every single one of them has been, it doesn't really matter where you got POTS from or how you got it. It just matters how you are going to deal with it. And oftentimes, the majority of times, 95% of the times, the way to deal with it never changes, no matter what the root cause is. And that is because there are sensory inputs that go into you, and then your nervous system has to make adaptations to those inputs. Okay. So the symptoms that you are expressing or that you are feeling when it comes to POTS are actually just signals that something is not right. So a lot of people look at this as a chronic illness or a chronic disease instead of looking at it as sensory inputs that are trying to tell you a story about what is going on with your body. Something that I offer basically every single one of my POTS clients is stress. You are dealing with stress. There is stress. And a lot of them will say, well, I don't feel stress, or I don't know that I've dealt with any trauma. But oftentimes, I don't think that people actually understand what stress is. Okay. A lot of people think that stress means that some sort of major event happened, or that, like, let's give the example, like maybe they went through a breakup, or they, are losing their house, or this, that, the third. Take your example for what you would actually think stress is. Instead of understanding that the compounding events in life all add up to something. Okay. So little things over time eventually build into a big thing, right? Little things over time build into a big thing. And I think that this is where a lot of people get this wrong, to be totally real with you. Teddy. Sorry, guys. My dog is going through stuff in the basement here. Okay. So little things over time eventually turn into a big thing. So maybe like POTS. And the conclusion here is that this person, or these people that have now, manifested POTS, or have POTS that is manifested within them, have basically overfilled their bucket. Okay. So you can look at stress, or adaptations in this way. Stress is just like, you have this bucket, right? You've probably heard the histamine bucket, right? You have this bucket, and once the thing overfills, now symptoms are going to express. It's likely that as it was reaching the top, you were already expressing and feeling some sort of symptoms, but it didn't really bother you, and you just brushed them off kind of as like, oh, that's weird, that's weird, that's weird. And then POTS, the big symptom, finally happens because the bucket becomes overfilled. Okay. And something, Taps, what's up, dude? Something that I have talked to different practitioners about, myself, right? Because I work with functional nutritionists actively, for my own stuff, right? Because I am a performance athlete. I want to make sure that I'm performing at a high level always. Something that I have talked to them about, and even psychologists now, is I am somebody who has tried to figure out, is it the chicken or the egg? Is it histamine? Is it MSAS or mold? Or is it nervous system regulation first? Okay. So this is something I really want to touch on today too, is nervous system regulation. I promise to you, I'm getting to the solution for POTS. And at the end of the day, it's the same thing that I've kind of told all of my clients, that they tell me it doesn't really matter. You need to address the problem, which is the POTS. And the POTS, again, is the overfilling of the stress, which means that you don't have capacity to handle the stress. Now, this is something that I've recently come to the conclusion of with viewing my clients, seeing my clients, reviewing which ones have done the best, how fast they did the best, what their symptoms were, and how they're feeling now. Watching even people that were once clients and now are thriving, and understanding how we actually built capacity. So right now, what's really popular is nervous system regulation. This is probably a term that you've heard time and time again at this point, right? It's becoming super popular. And to be honest with you, I think it's a bunch of charlatans talking about it. They're talking about regulating your nervous system. You need to do breath work. You need to do cold plunges. You need to do sauna. I'm a fan of all those things for a completely different reason. I don't believe nervous system regulation is something that you ever actually want to accomplish. Of course, you want to be able to handle your emotions and face your fears and things of that nature. But really, what I think that comes down to is not regulating your nervous system. It's building capacity within your nervous system. In therapy, there's something called ERP. And this is something that I have actually recently become more privy to the fact that this is what I was doing with my clients that was the most successful. Yes, if they had gut issues, we address gut issues. If they had SIBO, we address SIBO. If they had mold toxicity, we address mold. If they had, a sluggish liver, we address a sluggish liver. These are all inputs that do need to be addressed. But the main thing here, in order to get you back to a healthy, thriving lifestyle, is nervous system capacity, rather than regulation. And the thing that I did with a lot of my clients, and I didn't even realize that this was a thing at the time, was ERP. Exposure response prevention is, what is ERP? Let's look at what the actual, is it ERP? Yeah, exposure and response prevention. Okay. This is something that I had actually been practicing with clients for a long time. I didn't even realize that I was doing it. But what I was doing was, and this is the explanation that I would give them because this is all the information that I basically had at the time, right? Was a lot of what POTS is, or getting better from POTS, is proving to your body, proving to your nervous system that you are safe. Because what happens so often is people in the POTS cycle, what they do is they become scared of their symptoms or what ifs. It's all what ifs. It's almost never with POTS people this actually happened. Now, I don't want anybody to get me wrong here, because oftentimes people get me wrong when I'm talking about this on my videos. I've seen comments about this, is that syncope is one of the least common symptoms that I've seen with POTS. And now you're going to get some random idiot, I'll say, that's going to be like, well, I've passed out before. Sure, you have. And it's scary and it's bad and it's not good. Nobody's saying that it doesn't happen. Nobody's saying that it's not real. It's just, in 95% of people that I have seen, I've only had one POTS client that has ever actually lost consciousness and passed out. I've only ever had one out of however many that I've had. And it was because of lack of eating, malnourishment, literally malnourishment. The person maybe ate 500 calories a day. As soon as we corrected for that, we fixed the problem. So what I would do with a lot of clients is I would try to make them do things that showed their nervous system that this is actually safe and okay to do. We're okay. We don't have to express these symptoms of dizziness because we're not in danger. We don't have to express these symptoms of panic because we're not in danger. And so what I would have people do, even the worst of cases, right? I've had people that were in wheelchairs. I've had people that were bedbound. I've had people, the worst of the worst cases. And what I would do is just gradual exposure response. Okay. So if the person felt symptomatic over standing for more than 5 minutes, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to sit in your living room. We're going to stay in your living room and we're going to stand for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. We're going to stand until you don't feel safe. And then we gradually increase that over time. And what that does is it sends the signal to your nervous system that, hey, we've been here before. We can actually continue to do this. It's not unsafe for me to be doing this. And so many people, right, with the POTS cycle, what they do is they just continue to feed it. They go, well, I'm feeling this symptom now, so it must be the case that this, and then they go Google. How many times have you guys done that? How many people do you know that do that? That go on Reddit or they go on Google and they're symptom checking, right? This is a common theme between OCD and drawing a line between OCD and POTS. They're very similar, right? The expression of symptoms comes from the what if, comes from the fear of what happens if, right? The lack of feeling safe. It's getting your nervous system fired up about what about this thing? Maybe I have a secret illness or a secret symptom or a secret, problem that nobody else is catching. And that's why so many of these people with POTS, I would say literally 98% of POTS cases go from specialist to specialist to specialist to specialist to specialist, trying to symptom check and trying to doctor shop for somebody who's going to validate what they're saying that they're going through, and they never get better. And then it's always, woe is me online, right? Woe is me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. You should feel so sorry for me. You should feel bad for me because, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so terrible all the time and nobody cares. It's like, shut the fuck up. Okay. Because look, one thing that I will say is this: I know how this works at this point. Okay. And I am the coach who's going to keep it a buck with you and keep it real with you while still having room to be kind. Because at this point, like, I've realized that everybody is running their own race. Everybody has a different way that they experience life, but the truth will always stay the truth. The gray area is how you experience what is happening in your body. That's what the gray area is. But the data would show the black and the white, right? And people will be symptom and doctor shopping because it's a parallel between POTS and OCD, right? Those two are very similar. And so what I was doing with clients, to get back to it, was I was doing exposure response, right? So I would tell them, if one of your triggers is going out in public, basically like agoraphobia, we're just going to like find ways to microdose that into your week and into your month. So we're going to go to a restaurant, but what you're going to do is you're going to order ahead, and you'll have somebody drive you to the restaurant. And then, you'll wait until it's for sure ready. They'll give you a call. You'll walk in, give yourself about 10 seconds, and then walk back out to your car. Because I've had so many clients report the same things where it's like too much noise or an overcrowded area is the thing that triggers them and sets them off. Okay, so what you do is you just walk into that restaurant, and then you go get your stuff and you come out as fast as possible. The next time, what we'll do is you'll order ahead, right? And then you'll go like 10 minutes early, and you'll sit down on one of the booths while you wait for your food. You can always walk out. You can always go to your car, right? You can always find a way to leave for a little bit and then come back when the food is ready. But we're microdosing the response until eventually we're actually sitting in the restaurant, eating our meal, and then leaving. Then we're sitting in the restaurant with friends and chilling and having a good time. We have now conditioned the body, conditioned the nervous system to realize, I am safe here. This is okay to be doing. The same thing with exercise. If any of you guys have ever bought into or followed one of my programs, or maybe you've been coached by me or haven't been coached by me or one of my counterparts, we do the same thing. It's microdosing the exercise. Everybody can get better from POTS. Make no mistake. I have had, again, wheelchair bound, bed bound, people who could barely wash themselves in the shower, had to have a seat in the shower, now living fully thriving lives. It is possible. And the naysayers are just people who want to wallow. Make no mistake, whether you have POTS or not, there will always be people online that want to live in the negative. It's your decision. It's your choice to create the different story and narrative in your head. And it is possible. And sometimes the battle is that, creating the new story. Sometimes that is what the actual battle is creating the story for the alternative that you are living right now. And you're not always going to believe it because things get hard. But you need to make the choice every single day, even if you don't believe it, that you're going to face it. That you're going to try to believe it. Tell yourself the story until it becomes unbearable. There's a book, I'm not fully through it, right? But from the gist that I've gotten, it describes basically how I've lived almost my entire life, right? And it's that for 21 days, you need to tell yourself that, at least 21 days, you need to tell yourself a narrative about yourself in order to believe that narrative. It's called psycho-cybernetics. You probably heard people talking about this. It's creating the self-image. I encourage a lot of people with POTS to write down what they want their life to look like. Just like a simple paragraph. And then read it every day to yourself. Read how you want your life to look every single day. Let's get to some of these comments. Hi, Taps02. What up, dog? Science nerd, you're back again, dude. It's good to see you here. I've never passed out. My biggest issue is elevated heart rate resulting in extreme breathlessness. I can push through just about anything until I can't breathe. And you are correct that getting over the fear is big. One big thing that helped me is when my cardiologist told me my heart just thinks I'm running a marathon. It's not going to kill me. Yeah, and this is par for the course, right? This is interesting. Okay. This isn't POTS, but last week I was like kind of sick. I had like a little bit of a thing going on. I could tell my mom had it. And then, apparently there's something really going on right now going around. You might be able to hear it in my nose. But I had an episode in the gym where I was like, fuck, I can't breathe. I can't breathe because I was, sick and I knew it. And I just had to tell myself, you're fine. You're okay. And just keep going and keep doing it. Because being sick and working out is not going to kill you, right? Same thing with POTS, elevated heart rate, breathlessness, as you put it, or as other people put it, is not going to kill you. Like, it just won't. And the more that you safely push through those things, the more that you condition your body to realize, like, I am safe here, I can do this, the more ability you will have, the more capacity you'll have to actually to work through it. So the cure for POTS is actually pretty simple, but a lot of people just won't do it on their own. And I have a step-by-step process. We have a step-by-step process that we use. We always test, don't guess with a lot of stuff, but for POTS people specifically, it's building capacity. It's just simply just building capacity. That's all it is. Building capacity for your nervous system to feel like it's safe. And bringing it back to root cause, like whether it was a virus or it was this or that, you need to just look at those things as if it was inputs for your nervous system to not be safe in the first place. And that's the stressor that maybe threw you off in the first place. But it's not dangerous, right? And some people's nervous systems, for whatever reason, respond to things differently than other people's. And there's no way to get around that. There's no cure-all, be-all for that, right? You may have less capacity than somebody else has. But those are things that you're able to build. And once you get to a safe place, when it comes to POTS and getting your life somewhat back, that's when I truly recommend deploying things like sauna and ice bath, cold baths, because those are the things that can help you build capacity over time. Those are the things that, make a normal person normal, be able to handle more stressors because they're microdosing stress in their life on purpose. Okay. But that's saved for people who are not fully, or that don't have any sort of chronic illness or nervous system regulation or dysregulation, right? Which is what POTS is. So build capacity first, or build that safety via capacity, right? And then after you've built the safety via the capacity training, then you move on to the microdosing of the hormetic stressors to build even more capacity. That's what you do. So name your thing. If every single time that you get up from your seat, you are feeling like you're dizzy or passing out or pass out feeling, which, by the way, a lot of you guys don't even know what that means. It's just a way to describe a certain way that you're feeling, right? So if you've never passed out, you actually don't know what passing out feels like. I've said this a million times on this channel. If you've never passed out, you actually don't know what it feels like. You just are trying to describe something that feels uncomfortable. And a lot of times, the thing that I've noticed is that people aren't even afraid of passing out. What they're afraid of is passing out in public or passing out in front of people. And that's why we microdose the public exposure or the exposure to people, is so that we can get over that fear, right? So that we've never passed out before, but we're going to microdose the exposure of being around people so that we're not afraid of passing out around people, which eventually leads to, we're just not afraid of passing out because we understand that we've never actually passed out. We're just feeling lightheaded because our nervous system is at 1,000 RPMs right now because it doesn't feel safe around people. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So building that capacity over time for anything, it's the same thing for everything. So if you're that person that sits down and stands up and feels dizzy, then you're going to have to try to figure out a way to sit down and stand up 100 times. What does that mean? You're probably doing squats to your couch. Okay. You're probably doing squats to your couch. Burpees is one thing that I actually used to have a lot of people do. And I didn't realize what I was doing. I just thought that I was trying to teach people how to regulate their blood pressure and their heart rate. I thought about it so physiologically, what it could be doing to your body, rather than understanding that it was actually a nervous system signal, right? It was a signal to the nervous system that this action here, going from down to up, is okay for us to do. And your nervous system is the thing that then creates the inputs for your blood pressure and your heart rate to regulate itself, right? And so the other thing, right? The other things that people talk about oftentimes is like gut issues, histamine intolerance, MSAS, you know, mold toxicity, all these things. And these are important things. They are important. However, a thriving nervous system, which has connection to the immune system, right? A nervous system that is functioning well, that has capacity, will then be able to create the signals and the inputs for the immune system to respond properly. You ever met anybody who's had the same exposures as another person to maybe mold or heavy metals or something? One person seems symptomatic and the other person does not. I believe I just kind of told you the answer to why that might be. Like, for me, example, my fiance, we're getting married on Saturday. My fiance, we both had the same mold exposure. We both did. But her nervous system just has better capacity. And she didn't get symptomatic from it, like, at all. I did. I'm afraid of landing wrong when passing out. I don't understand people who feel like they are going to pass out and they just stand still and see what happens. That's me. That was me. I would just see if I would just eventually pass out. That was my whole thing. And that is, if you have never passed out, I believe that that is exactly how you should take it. That is exactly the exposure that I believe that you should do, is just stand there and just wait and see. More times than not, it's just panic. And here's the thing that in ERP that I've learned, right? And just like reading and seeing these, you know, listening to people talk about nervous system regulation, which again, I think that a lot of those people are just charlatans trying to make a quick buck off of people teaching them how to, you know, regulate their nervous system, whatever the fuck that means, right? Is you should let that panic peak. Let it peak. Like, a lot of people never fully get over their anxiety issues because they're afraid of, what if I have a panic attack, right? What if I have, you know, like, I am uncomfortable with the panic. But the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that, like, having the anxiety, having the panic, which is all part of POTS too, by the way, and, you know, all these other things like OCD, I drew the line earlier in this thing between OCD and POTS, and then anxiety, POTS, OCD's connections, right? Is let the anxiety peak. Let it peak. People don't understand that just because your anxiety is there, and this is easier said than done, but this is something, when I was really dealing with anxiety back in the day, I didn't realize that this is how I like got over the anxiety, right? Is that I eventually realized that I didn't have to lay in bed because I was having bad anxiety and bad panic. Like, this was like years ago, right? Like a decade ago. Oh yeah, about a decade ago, that I realized this. And I started to just kind of do this by accident. Was I used to like lay in bed and just stay there when I figured out, when I was like having a panic attack or having anxiety, because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything, not realizing that it's literally physically possible for me to move my legs and arms, even if I was having panic. Now, it didn't feel good. And what I've learned recently is that doing that just naturally, like off of instinct, actually proved to my nervous system that, like, you're okay, you're safe, and anxiety is okay to have. It's actually your body doing what it's supposed to do, right? And letting it peak is also fine, right? When we were cavemen, our anxiety peaked and we didn't lay down. It was because a saber-toothed tiger was chasing us and we ran. We were active during it. We ran from it, right? We didn't lay down and just let the thing eat us. Passed out a bunch of times. It's getting better. Haven't passed out since my POTS treatment. That's awesome. That's great. What did you do for POTS treatment? And that's the most common thread that I see for people with POTS syndrome is they let the anxiety and the panic get to them. And then they believe that they are helpless and they can't do anything. And they just don't do anything. And look, if you want to live your life that way, that's totally fine with me. But as for the people that like actually want to get better, as for the people, you know, clients of mine and things of that nature, as for all those people, I won't let them live that way because I know that there's a way out. And I've worked with tons of people that have gotten other treatments, that have worked with other, you know, other practitioners, and they never fully get better. And it's because there's way too much of this validation cycle that happens. Now, again, I do believe in validating people's emotions now, but again, that's the gray area, is how people are experiencing this individually. The black and the white is that the treatment options and the way that this actually does work, right? These things really do work, right? These things don't actually work. Shenati Gaines, what if I had all the symptoms of POTS, but it all went away after I got back to working out for a few months? LOL, my cardiologist assumed it was POTS at the time after a walking test that was done. What if I had the symptoms of POTS, but it all went away after I got back to working? That could totally be the case. I mean, I've seen way crazier things happen, right? That could totally be the case. Like, it doesn't need to be, POTS doesn't have to be this like months long, years long journey, healing journey. It just doesn't have to be. And anyone that says that it does have to be that way, or that has gone through treatments, like, I'm not fully better and here's why, because mine is so much different and da 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 da. I hate to break it to you guys, but like, we are not that biologically individual. Like, we are not that different. Now, do I believe that there are physiological differences in every single person? We are quite different in the level that like approaches should be a little bit different. Yeah, but things will always be true, right? There are things that will always be true. There's certain things that are metabolically healthy, just period, right? And those circumstances can change based off of like your biology, your physiology, depending on what you are dealing with, right? So like if you have insulin resistance, some things may not be as healthy for you as other things, but as soon as you get back to having a healthy, able body, all things stay true and the same, right? So like, even if you look at like, I'm going to take a super hard stance on this and a super crazy, like, I'm going to give you guys a crazy example. Okay. Schizophrenics and why the ketogenic diet might work for them, but not be good for other people, probably has something to do with GABA receptors, right? And glutamate production probably has something to do with that. So that means that there's a dysfunction there. If it's corrected for, carbohydrates might not actually be bad for them. You know, gene mutations are something that is different in everybody too. But if they're turned off rather than on, you basically play by the same rules as everyone else. Okay. So once you're able to actually correct for things that might be switched on or switched off, everything is basically a fair playing field, right? Basically, not everybody is handed the same deck of cards in terms of like environment and how their life actually goes from there. But that doesn't mean that it can't be a fair playing ground. Fluid, salt, potassium, propranolol, clonidine, not aggravate my POTS, for example, by standing up a million times, careful exercise, compression to the thighs and arms. MSAS treatments, low histamine diet, citrazine, Nalcrom, and quercetin. Nice. Quercetin with low histamine diet? Cool. Well, good thing that it's working for you. Keep talking about it, Justin. Just listening to you over time completely changed how I feel about my POTS and how I deal with it in a very positive way. I appreciate you, science nerd. Thanks, man. Yeah. So the approach in terms of like dosing may be different, but the approach in terms of like actually getting better has almost never been different. There are people that are more difficult to work with for sure. There are people that are more difficult to actually get their results for sure. I've had some people who have literally made recovery within 30 days in bad cases as well, because they change the narrative in their head. They change the narrative in their brain. What happens to a lot of people with POTS too that like are on the healing journey and are like really close to being better is that they never fully let go of what I like to call the victim mindset. Now, I don't want anybody to get offended by that or, feel bad about that. It just is what it is, right? They're always looking for like, what if it comes back? What if it never fully gets better? Like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling better. Something must be wrong then. Because some people are just so used to the dysfunction that when they feel normal, it means that something's wrong. Okay. And that's something that is just fixed by fixing the narrative of what POTS is supposed to be in your brain, or fixing the narrative of what your life should look like past POTS. You need to fix that in your brain. So many people will never fully make a recovery. A lot of people will never make a full recovery because they have not fixed the narrative that's in their head, right? And eventually one day, if you are able to do that and you do the microdosing of things, you do build the capacity, you're going to wake up and be like, wow, I haven't had a POTS symptom in however long. And then from there, you really do get to choose. Am I going to let that throw me off, or am I going to let that be a reason to keep on going? Okay. I think that it's really interesting that we look at POTS as like almost like a thing that you can confirm, right? That you can confirm and that you can like prove is real and true. Like there's no, as far as I'm aware at this point, there's no blood test. There's no gene test. There's no, whatever test to figure out, like, do I actually have POTS? POTS is basically an umbrella term, right? It's just a term that's given to a group of symptoms. Okay. And these symptoms can be improved on. The most disheartening thing to see, and the thing that I like to correct for first with people that have POTS, is get the fuck off the internet. Like, get the fuck off the internet. Why do you have to be constantly researching about this? No, you're not interested in it. No, you're not trying to educate yourself more. That's just like a compulsion, basically, right? It's just a compulsion. You don't need to do that. And it just feeds the loop. It feeds the cycle. Truth. Your videos help me get through that time a lot. Mindset really is key. Keep up the awesome work. Appreciate you, big dog. Shenati Gains, dude. Hey, yo, you're looking pretty jacked, my boy. So, oh, you know what? We can do this right here. Boom. Chat right there. That's cool. I didn't realize that we could do that. Change the narrative, man. Change the narrative. That is the cure. It just is. Anyone that says that it's not, you haven't made a recovery. That's why you say it's not. That's the only reason that you say it's not, because you haven't made a recovery. And some of these people are just like self-loathing, right? And they just want to stay in the shit. They're going to say, there's going to be comments on this video. How could you say that? I would never want to just stay like this. I would never want to just be like this. The fact is that you do, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be Googling it all the time. You wouldn't be surrounding yourself in fucking forums and Facebook pages around other people that are self-loathing and talking about pots all the time. You wouldn't do it. You would try to recreate a narrative. That's like saying drug addicts, like they don't want to do drugs anymore and they're over that period of their life, but they continue to hang out with drug addicts and they continue to just like surround themselves around drug dealers. It's like, are you trying to set yourself up for failure or what? So, it's like I've even and admittedly, I have gone on some of these Facebook pages in the past. I barely go on Facebook anymore. To try and get POTS clients, to try to like spread the message and, there's a way out. I'm the dickhead for doing that. I'm invalidating people's experience or whatever. I mean, that doesn't even make sense, right? It doesn't even make sense. So with that being said, I'm soft launching a page now. I think that people might be interested in. Which is a school page. And you can find that in the bio. I believe that it's set up for $39.99 a month. And this will be a spot for community. For community and for a positive POTS community. We've tried this before. Okay. This time it's going to be like full education. So right now, if you join before everything is launched, it'll be $39.99 a month. I promise you that it will be the most educated, like the most productive POTS classroom that you've ever been in, or the thing that will help you get better the fastest, aside from all these other people. It's going to be good. We have people besides me working on it, which is great. I finally have a team that can help when things get busy on my end. We have a really good team. I'll just say that. And so this is going to be it. It's called the POTS Solution. It's on School. You can find the link in the bio. I believe that it's $39.99 right now. We're going to do modules in it. So you will have tasks to do to go forward. There's going to be live calls weekly in there, a couple times a week. And then you're going to have access to coaching between me and one other coach. Sorry. The other coach is an in-person coach. And that's what we've been working on. That's what we've been doing. So, I said, like, I think it was 80 days ago, my last upload here, that I was going to be doing more regular. Let's see how long ago it was. May 31st and May 20th. So that whole week, is when I said that I was going to be uploading like 2 to 3 times a week, whatever. We have fixed the problem. This is what I'll be doing. And from this, we'll be clipping and making videos from this. This is the easiest way for me to actually touch base and to be active on this channel, is to just go live. I've actually, because of my other channel too, my Counterculture podcast channel, I've beefed up my computer setup. So you guys can't see it, but I have a Mac Studio display that's sitting right there waiting to be set up, getting rid of this thing right here, and got a Mac Mini that's on its way today. So the studio, the beefiness of this is all going way up. The quality is going way up. And the ability to actually produce content is going to be through the roof. And that's because I need it for the other channel that I run as well, along with this. So we're in a good spot professionally with the clinic where I can actually focus on this as well, because a lot of the tasks that I need to do day to day is delegated or are delegated. The cool thing that I want to actually express about the offer that I'm offering you guys is that if you're in the States, we can do everything for you. Basically, we can't prescribe across state lines, which is the bad thing. But what we can do is we can order blood work. And then based off the blood work, we can do the consult, and our consults are probably cheaper than everyone else that you've worked with in person or online. We do lab consults, and then we can also order GI maps, stool testing. We can order mold. We can do all that stuff, which is great because that's exactly where I wanted to be the whole time with the functional practice. And that's why I fully have left my in-person training besides 2 hours a week, because I just love working with the kids that I have. They're just fucking awesome. So go join the Pot Solution on Skool. You can expect live streams almost daily, probably almost daily. And yeah, link is in the bio. Hope to see you guys there. Peace out. Hope you got something out of this. Goodbye.